Well, welcome everyone to ComSpark's Frontline series. Today, we're interviewing leaders who are sharing lessons learned in the midst of this global pandemic. My name's Greg Burke, and I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Doug Martin, who's the Senior Director of Data Analytics for Cincinnati Bell. Doug, welcome to the program.
Greg, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. We're in an interesting point of history, and we're really curious, the dynamic nature of COVID-19, the crisis, like how has this impacted the data team's utilization by business stakeholders?
Yeah, great question. I'll have to admit that I was a bit of a skeptic when it came to the ability to work at home. So adapting to this environment, right? The health and safety of the employees was the primary concern. Sending those employees back home and out of the workplace, I was a little bit skeptical as to whether or not we'd be able to produce and really provide the vision and the data that the business needed to sustain its growth in this environment and really just sustain the business. So, what we saw was that, quite honestly, we were able to adapt to this pretty quickly. There was less distractions in the workplace. And we saw that employee productivity had increased for our team in particular. I think the feedback from our employees was very positive around this. But what really I think we gleaned from this was that there was less procrastination in decision making. And we were finding that those that we served were coming to decisions a little bit quicker. They were able to take the data that we were producing and really act upon that very quickly. And so we found that this has actually led to a much more productive environment holistically for our organization. And for our team, we've been able to quickly adapt to that.
And with those lessons you've learned in these past 3 months, is there a way that you would differ like the structure of the data and analytics team to better serve those constant changing needs of your internal customers?
Yeah, a few things became evident to us as we moved into this work at home environment. Stakeholders felt immediately removed from the business, and that's understandable. They felt as though, maybe the data wasn't really quite at their fingertips, and the data analytics team, being work at home. I think they felt a bit disconnected. And so the uncertainty around the economics and really where the industry was going, the impact of COVID-19, having people kind of far removed from the office, it really generated a lot of requests for data. We had to quickly adapt to that. I think, what we found is that our group traditionally would support kind of more strategic, mid-long-term analytics projects. And really what the business was asking for was, they needed information that was really hyper-focused on the operations, the day in, the day out operations. And so for our team, what we found is that we really needed to have a more diverse analytics team. And I think that's one of the findings that we had in this is, we need to make sure that we can support absolutely every facet of the business, not really just, those areas of the business that are looking at kind of the more strategic direction. What we also found was that, having a self-serve solution that would put more information at those stakeholders' fingertips is going to be paramount to us as well too. Oftentimes, data analytics can kind of be the bottleneck, if you will, for providing information back to the business. And with that, again, that hyper-focus on operations, we weren't able to get that out quick enough. And so I think this really shed a light on the fact that we need to develop a self-serve solution to help the business answer those questions more quickly.
And then when you look at those findings and that experience, how do you envision those, we'll call it that analysts of the future, to bring that valuable information to those frontline employees who are making the daily actions on both the mid and long term, but also the short term? You mentioned self-service analytics. Are there any other processes or technologies that could potentially help with getting that data to the right people at the right time?
Yeah, I think if you look at it traditionally, there's been a heavy reliance on the analysts to really navigate, the data, draw out the insights and deliver that back to the business. Our frontline employees are continually kind of one step removed from that process. And I see that changing dramatically in the future. In the past, it would be incumbent upon the analysts to summarize that data, determine what variables or what attributes they wanted to provide back to the business to dimension that by. And so I think we were really confined in terms of the insights that we could deliver back to the business. And so what I'm seeing is that artificial intelligence is one of the ways in which I think analysts of the future will be kind of changing the way that they interact with those frontline employees and get that information out to them. With artificial intelligence, I think the ability to generate insights is much more dynamic, right? And the ability to really support that underlying data that's necessary to promote action is something that's that comes along with artificial intelligence. And that's one of the difficulties that we've had in the past with traditional applications where you have to summarize that data. Oftentimes the frontline users are wanting to drill down to a level that we just couldn't really quite get to. And I think artificial intelligence gets us there. Really, for me, the transition from where we're at or where we have been to the future is going to be from a kind of a reactive approach to analytics to more of a proactive approach to analytics.
This is the $1 million question that every organization out there is trying to answer, is how does an organization become data-driven? And we'll define that as the people that are making those decisions on a day in, day out basis. How do they rely more on data and less on their gut?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I know this is top of mind for a lot of organizations that are maybe new to analytics or trying to develop their analytics program. And I'd say really the first thing is patience and perseverance. This isn't something that happens overnight. There's a maturity process to analytics itself and to your analytics team, but also to the organization and their acceptance of analytics. And I'd say some of the things that you could do would be really to help foster those relationships and kind of find quick wins in your organization to really show and demonstrate the value in data analytics. I think also too, and probably most paramount, is that you have leadership support. And really that your leadership team not only supports analytics, but really believes in the cause and believes in how analytics can help aid the organization and help make for a more informed leadership team. And then finally, I would suggest too is, if you have the ability, find a partner in the C-suite, maybe one who's a strong advocate for data analytics, and try to work with them to make sure that you're getting a foothold within the organization and that you're fostering that relationship with data analytics.
Well, Doug, really appreciate you coming on today to share your insights and help the community. We thank all of our viewers for joining us today. We remind you to visit comspark.tech for additional interviews. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.